correct me if I'm wrong, but this is why you got in trouble at Harvard. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But this is such an important issue for me because, like you said, I don't know who you guys think I am. There's no way I'm gonna support RFK, Marianne, Joe Biden, or anyone who apologized for the Israeli state. You guys think I'm gonna throw our Palestinian brothers and sisters under the bus to support RFK's political ambitions when you can't even have the courage to speak up for Palestinians? You think I'm gonna betray our brother Nkosi Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, who was on our show, who did a Nakba tour because this issue is so important? Because there's been a long-standing tradition of solidarity between South Africans, Palestinians, African Americans, Afro-Brazilians, because we come from the same form of struggle. So my question is, and CJ, I'll pass you to the next question, but this is my follow-up, because I want to ask you this. I asked Marianne this question. I think this is a crucial thing for new leaders to get correct, because we speak about Palestine, correct? You have new leaders like Maxwell Frost, who are quote-unquote progressives, who sold Palestinians out. He infiltrated Palestinian movements, promised them that he's going to support BDS, and soon as he became a Democrat, he sold them out to the Israeli lobby. You have people like Jamal Bowman, who immediately, when he was elected, sold out his constituents to the Israeli lobby. And so there's this weakness on the Bernie Sanders left to capitulate to imperialism, empire, and the Democratic Party. So I'm going to ask you this question. What have you learned from the failure? Because I am a working class person who worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign. We donated on the Bernie Sanders campaign. We gave our labor to the Bernie Sanders campaign, only for them to be imperialists who support the Ukraine war, who are weak on Israel. So there are people who are not going to be invested in electoral politics because of the failure of Bernie Sanders, whether that hurts to say or not. So what did you personally learn from the failures of Bernie Sanders, his failure to get anything from the left, and his complete capitulation to the Democratic Party? Do you learn anything from that? And what were your
look at that precious little one. Look at that precious little one right there. What's her name?
Little CJ. No, her name is Kaylani. She's named after a Hawaiian name. Her name is Kaylani. Yeah, she's home.
We got that little precious because that's who we're fighting for too.
That is absolutely who I'm fighting for. Sorry, Nick.
The little precious ones and the daddies and uncles. No, but one is that I do draw a distinction between those who are simply cowardly, opportunistic, and unprincipled, which is to say they actually believe one thing and they do something else because of money, because of status. They want to be included within the elite circles of the Democratic Party. But when you steal away with them at night over cognac, they got a different view. You say, hey, this Keith Sweat moment. Something just ain't right. You just scared. You know what's right. That's scared. Now, when I sit down with Brother Bernie, we used to have magnificent arguments over BDS and so forth, because he just argued, in fact, that they ought to have access to academic X and cultural Ys and what have you. But he also got in trouble with the lobby because he took his stand based on what he really believed. And so I just felt that he was wrong in terms of not going farther. So that there's a difference between folk who are really thoroughly convinced and they base their actions on their belief, and those who have different beliefs but act differently because they're afraid and they're just opportunists and hypocritical. The crucial thing is, though, without any spirit of self-righteousness, because all of us can be wrong, we have to be passionately consistent in our love for oppressed people, no matter who they are, no matter what color, no matter what gender or sexual orientation or national identity. See? And anybody who looks at the apartheid-like conditions of the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, Desmond Tutu and others, this is in some ways even worse than South Africa. Can you imagine politicians in the 1940s not saying a mumbling word about the crime against humanity called Jim and Jane Crow and American terrorism? Most American politicians wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Can you imagine American politicians in the 1970s and 80s not saying a mumbling word about the barbarism of apartheid South Africa? Most of them hardly say a mumbling word. I was blessed to work very closely with Brother Randall Robinson. God bless his soul. He was founder of Trans-Africa. We used to meet with Clarence Ogletree and others every month trying to raise this issue. And we finally got the wave of first people getting ready to, go to jail and get arrested to raise consciousness. Well, so it is with this issue of our Palestinian brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means then is that if there's persons who are either scared or persons who have a limited and myopic analysis of it and lose sight of the depth of the suffering of Palestinians, it means we either have courageous voices or we live in a world in which poor people are more and more abandoned. Because if Palestinians are abandoned, then our brothers and sisters in the mass incarceration regime, in the hoods, in decrepit school systems, they get abandoned too. Abandonment expands when you try to be selectively outraged. Cop City is directly connected to the training of those police in Israel. Why? Because their aim is to repress, contain, and circumscribe populations they have little respect for. That's what brings them together. And it exposes the black neoliberal leadership with the black mayor. What was the vote? 11-4 the other day?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And predominantly black city council, from what I could see.